My dad died in 2017 unexpectedly. He had a stroke at the gym, of all places, and then 2 weeks later he was gone. And I did not take time off. I actually went right back to work.
I want to thank Mrs. Simone Sanders Townsend for sharing this example, and I want to use it to illustrate how Black Superwoman Syndrome can negatively impact our lives. I'm going to do that by showing, if this was my patient, here's what we would address together. Let's start with the first sign.
I actually went right back to work for all of the reasons that we've all pushed ourselves, right? Like, oh, I can't take time off. I don't want to miss these things. I don't want anybody to think I can't handle it. I'm fine. And I was pushing myself very hard for months.
The first sign of Black Superwoman Syndrome that I see is the obligation to manifest strength. This is exhibited by feeling compelled to return to work right away, which is often driven by the fear of being perceived as weak or incapable. If this is something you were seeing, as my patient, we would work on redefining strength, understanding that it's okay to take time for oneself. Taking time off to grieve is not a sign of weakness, but a necessary step in healing.
I didn't know it at the time, but I was in fact depressed. I didn't want to spend time by myself. So I would load up my calendar. I would take all of the speaking engagements. I would go out and I would party late. And it was just so much.
The next symptom of Black Superwoman Syndrome that I saw from this is the obligation to suppress emotions. Keeping yourself busy to avoid facing emotions is a common coping mechanism, especially for individuals who feel pressure to appear strong. We would focus on healthy emotional expression. This might include journaling, therapy, and talking to trusted and supportive friends. Learning to express emotions can significantly reduce stress.
Airport, and a friend of mine who we're not close friends, but she's someone that knows me quite well. She calls me, hadn't heard from her in a few months, and I say, I answer the phone. I say, hey, what's going on? And she said, girl, I heard your daddy died. Are you okay? And I just break down sobbing, crying in the airport. The lady next to me grabs her stuff, goes 3 seats over. She didn't know in that moment I needed some consoling. And my friend on the phone, she says, you need to see someone. You need to see a therapist. You need to get help.
The next symptom of Black Superwoman Syndrome I see is resistance to being vulnerable or dependent. This is exhibited by resisting seeking help despite clear signs of needing support. For this, we would practice accepting help and recognizing the strength in vulnerability. Support network and leaning on others can be incredibly empowering.
I found out that I was depressed, and I had been depressed for about a year. I was fighting, making the decision every day to okay, I'm going to get up out of the bed, and every day was a struggle. And I remembered that experience when I was at the White House. And when I decided to leave the White House, it was one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make because I love my job. I love the people that I worked with. I love the president and the vice president, but I had been hopping on and off planes for about 3 years. We did a campaign in the middle of COVID, went straight to the transition where because of COVID, the footprint was even smaller. Therefore, a few of us did a lot more. And I was cranky some days. I was just not a happy camper at home. And
the next symptom of Black Superwoman Syndrome I see is determination to succeed despite limited resources. And this is another critical concept. The relentless work ethic, even in the face of grief, highlights this determination. For this, we would set realistic goals and boundaries with yourself. It's essential to balance ambition with self-care. Scheduling regular breaks and setting limits on work hours can prevent burnout. Because please remember, the solution to burnout is not a 3-day weekend. It's not simply rest. It's revolution and reevaluation, which will lead to a resurgence of better efforts. Another symptom of Black Superwoman Syndrome is the obligation to help others. Now, I didn't see this concept directly stated in the story. However, the underlying drive to continue working and taking on responsibilities can also reflect a sense of duty to others. I would address this by increasing comfort with understanding that we operate in a system, and what's best for you is going to be best for everyone you engage with, and inherently the world. A lot of times when it comes to Black Superwoman Syndrome, individuals feel as though they are not worthy of rest. And I want you to understand that you are worthy simply because of your existence. It's not because of all of the things that you can provide or all of the tangible skills and all of the things you can contribute. You are worthy simply just existing and being alive in this world. I know this was a long one, y'all, but this was very much on my heart. So if you enjoyed this, tell me your favorite movie. If you did not enjoy this, tell me your favorite vegetable. And if you would like to see me break down more things such as this when it comes to, if you were my patient, this is how I would deal with this. Tell me your favorite season.